The air in the stadium was absolutely electric. You could feel the tension from the moment the teams walked out. On one side, you had the passionate, vibrant fans of Monterrey, a sea of blue and white, roaring their team on. They expected a fight, they expected glory. On the other, the cool, composed supporters of Inter, a club steeped in European history, confident in their champions. It was a classic clash of styles waiting to happen. The whistle blew, and right away, you knew this was going to be a proper football match. It was more than just a game, it was a battle for the title of world's best club. Monterrey came out of the blocks like a steam train. They were absolutely relentless. Their manager, Javier Aguirre, had clearly told them to press high and play with incredible energy. They didn't give Inter a moment's peace on the ball, snapping at their heels and forcing them into hurried passes. The Mexican side played with a wonderful attacking flair, spreading the ball wide and getting their full backs, Stefan Medina and Jesus Gallardo flying down the wings. You have to admire that kind of courage on such a big stage, playing with no fear against a giant of world football. The main man for Rayados, as they're known, was Rogelio Funes Mori. He was a real handful up front, holding the ball up, bringing others into play, and constantly looking for that half yard of space in the box. Alongside him, the quick feet of Maxi Meza caused all sorts of problems, drifting inside and testing the Italian defense with clever runs. For the first 20 minutes, it was all Monterrey. They created a couple of half chances, a shot fizzing just wide here, a dangerous cross there. You started to wonder if the European champions were rattled by this early onslaught. But this is Inter we're talking about. A team built by Simone Inzaghi to be resilient and incredibly organized. They didn't panic. They simply absorbed the pressure like a giant sponge. The back three of Skriniar, De Vrij and Bastoni were immense, holding their line, communicating constantly, and looking utterly unfazed by the chaos around them. They trusted their shape, they trusted their system, and they calmly waited for the storm to pass. It was a masterclass in disciplined defending, weathering the initial hurricane of energy from their opponents and waiting for their own moment to strike. As the first half wore on, you could see the game's rhythm begin to shift. Monterrey's ferocious press started to lose a bit of its bite. You can't keep that level of intensity up forever. Inter, with the cool-headed Marcelo Brozovic pulling the strings in midfield, began to find their footing. They started passing the ball with more confidence, moving it from side to side and patiently probing for an opening. They weren't creating clear-cut chances just yet, but the control was slowly, almost silently, shifting in their favor. The Italians were playing the long game, a game they are masters of. The warning signs were there for Monterrey. A quick counterattack saw Nicolo Barella burst through the middle, his pass just a fraction too heavy for his strike partner. Then, a corner kick caused a moment of panic in the Mexican side's penalty area. Inter were turning the screw. Their movement became sharper, their passes crisper. They were like a predator that had patiently stalked its prey, and now they sensed an opportunity. You could feel a goal was coming. The question wasn't if, but when and who would be the one to deliver the decisive blow for the Nerazzurri. And then, it happened. Just before the break, Inter produced a moment of pure quality. It was a swift, incisive move that cut right through the heart of the Monterrey defense. Barella, who had been brilliant all half, picked up the ball in midfield and drove forward. He slipped a perfectly weighted through ball into the path of Romelu Lukaku. The big Belgian striker made no mistake. He took one touch to set himself and then powerfully drilled the ball past the helpless goalkeeper. It was a clinical, ruthless finish from a world-class finisher. That goal completely changed the complexion of the match. It was a gut punch for Monterrey, who had worked so incredibly hard for the first 40 minutes. You could see the deflation in their players as they walked off for half-time. For Inter, it was the ultimate reward for their patience and defensive solidity. They had weathered the storm, stuck to their game plan, and landed a killer blow right on the stroke of halftime. Now they had the lead, and they were in complete control of their own destiny as the second half beckoned. Coming out for the second half, you had to give full credit to Monterrey. They didn't let their heads drop. They came out with renewed purpose, determined to find a way back into this final. They knew they needed an early goal to swing the momentum back in their favor, and they threw everything they had at the Italian champions. Jesus Gallardo was particularly impressive, constantly bombing forward from his left-back position, trying to deliver dangerous crosses into the box. He was a man on a mission, a real bright spark for his side as they pushed for an equalizer. The Mexican champions huffed and puffed. They forced a series of corners and put some dangerous balls into the penalty area. But the Inter defense was simply magnificent. It was like watching a blue and black wall form in front of their goal. Every time a cross came in, the towering figure of Milan Skriniar was there to head it clear. He was a colossus at the back, winning every aerial duel and organizing the players around him. He showed exactly why he is considered one of the very best defenders in the world. Alongside him, Alessandro Bastoni was just as impressive, though in a different way. While Skriniar was the rock, Bastoni was the composed ball-playing defender who started Inter's attacks from the back. He was so calm under pressure, stepping out of defense with the ball and relieving the pressure with an intelligent pass. Monterrey kept trying, with Funes Mori working tirelessly to find a gap, but the Inter backline refused to be breached. They were compact, they were disciplined, and they gave absolutely nothing away. It was a defensive clinic. The frustration for Monterrey was visible. They were giving it their all, but they just couldn't find a way through. Every attack was met with that organized, stubborn resistance. Inter were happy to let them have the ball in wide areas, confident in their ability to deal with any crosses. It was a classic rope-a-dope strategy. They were soaking up all the pressure, letting Monterrey tire themselves out, all while waiting for the perfect moment to spring a counterattack and finish the game off for good. As Monterrey pushed more and more players forward in search of that elusive goal, they inevitably left space at the back. For a team like Inter, with the quality they possess on the counter, that is a fatal mistake. The moment of magic that sealed the Club World Cup title came from their other star striker Lautaro Martinez. The Argentine, nicknamed El Toro, had been a live wire all game and he produced a finish of breathtaking quality. It started with a long cleared ball from the Inter defense that found him in a race with a Monterrey defender. Lautaro won the sprint, of course. He shrugged off the defender with his strength, bore down on the goal, and as the goalkeeper rushed out to close him down, he produced the most audacious finish. With sublime technique and unbelievable composure, he delicately chipped the ball over the keeper and into the back of the net. It was a goal worthy of winning any final. It was a moment of individual brilliance that showcased everything he is about: pace, power, and a touch of genius. The celebration said it all. They knew the trophy was theirs. That second goal knocked the final bit of stuffing out of Monterrey. With a 2-goal cushion, Inter were able to simply see out the game. They brought on some fresh legs, kept the ball with long spells of possession, and gave their opponents no sniff of a comeback. The final whistle was met with a huge roar from the Inter players and staff. They had been tactically superb, defensively immense, and clinical when it mattered most. They were, without a shadow of a doubt, the deserved world champions. Their game management was a joy to behold. In the end, while Inter celebrated their well-earned victory, you have to acknowledge the fantastic effort from Monterrey. They played with heart, with passion, and with a real attacking intent that made for a brilliant final. They gave a fantastic account of themselves and can hold their heads high. But on the day, they came up against a superior side. Inter's blend of defensive steel and attacking firepower was simply too much to handle. They executed their game plan to perfection and proved why they are the champions of Europe, and now the champions